Today, our Kansas Jayhawks are headed to Ames, Iowa to face off against the Iowa State Cyclones. With just 2 games left to go, everything is on the line for us. We need to win out, and we need some things across the country to go our way if we want any chance of sneaking into the college football playoff. Nonetheless, we can only control what we can control, and our focus has to solely be on this matchup against Iowa State. The Cyclones are not having that great of a season, but Iowa State usually makes it tough, and I certainly don't want to discount them. As it stands now, we are currently in 4th place in the Big 12. In order to make the conference championship, we will need to win out, along with some combination of the 3 teams ahead of us falling. We would need Arizona State to lose their last 2 games, Kansas State to lose their last 2 games, and UCF to lose at least once. We would need 2 of those to happen, along with us winning out. So in the last episode, of course, we had a doubleheader, including our rivalry game against Kansas State, where everything was on the line for us, not just given that it's a rivalry, but given how high both teams are in the Big 12 standings. And this play essentially decided the game. During the 3rd quarter, we went for it on a 4th down, and it looked like we converted. Mario Maddox caught the ball clearly in the end zone for what should be ruled as a touchdown. However, that was not the calling on the field. The officials said that Maddox was stopped short of the end zone, even though you can very clearly see he was in the end zone, and that ended up being the difference on the scoreboard as we lost by 6. Now, you can easily make the argument that we should have played better to not put this game in the hands of the refs, and while that is true to an extent, it does feel like we got absolutely screwed by that call. And again, with that being a touchdown taken off the board, that very well could have ended up being the difference in how we ended up losing this game. And had we won, we would be able to really position ourselves nicely to go to the conference championship if we were to win out. And now we need all this extra stuff to happen. So going into the Houston game, we were almost on a tour of revenge, essentially. And we kind of want to go into these last 3 games with the mindset that we can't fool around. We've got to beat these teams down, try to do anything possible to help out our resume. And we really took care of business against the Cougars to where we were able to bring our backups in for the 4th quarter. Clyde Poole and most of the starters were only out there until late in the 3rd. Everybody produced. It was cool to see a lot of the younger guys get on the field, along with some of the seniors for senior day, especially the guys who don't really play a lot. It was cool to get them on the field in Lawrence, Kansas for one final time. But now our focus shifts into the Iowa State game. The Cyclones are 4-6 this year, only 1-6 in conference play. It certainly has not been their season, but they're a tough team. They've got some good players, followed by our matchup against TCU. Again, even if we win these last 2 games, we still need some things to go our way. If we want to make the conference championship, again, we're going to need some combination of the top 3 teams ahead of us to lose. Of course, there are plenty of scenarios where we could get into the playoff with an at-large bid. But in order to make the conference championship, we need 2 of the 3 things to happen along with us winning out. Let's start with Arizona State losing their last 2 games. They've beaten both Kansas State and UCF this year. Their only loss came against Hawaii, oddly enough. They play against BYU and Arizona, 2 teams who we played against earlier in the year. Arizona's going to be a tough matchup for them, but BYU, they're not so good. I don't love our chances finishing ahead of Arizona State. As for Kansas State, their lone in-conference loss was to the Sun Devils earlier in the year. We would not be having this conversation had we beaten them in the last episode, but they play against Houston and Oklahoma State at home. We know Houston's not very good, and Oklahoma State is not a whole lot better. As for UCF, their lone conference loss and their lone loss overall, again, is to Arizona State. The Sun Devils really do have 2 major statement wins on their resume. They play against Utah and Texas Tech. I think Utah could give them a tough matchup. The Utes are quite strong. Texas Tech, meanwhile, not so much. But we would really only need UCF to lose one of those games for us to jump them. But nonetheless, it would take a whole lot for us to make the conference championship, which means our best avenue of making the playoff is to make it in as an at-large bid. Currently being ranked number 14, that means the door is certainly open for us to get in that way. We are the highest ranked 3-loss team in the nation. The committee is clearly high on us. But what I do notice is during the last week, even though we just won, Arizona State, Mississippi State, and Stanford all jump us. They all had better records than us, so we can't really argue against it. But I'm fearful that more teams could potentially pass us, like Oklahoma, USC, Boston College, maybe some of these Group 5 teams, and I'm worried they could end up lapping us when it's all said and done for the final at-large spots in the playoff. So we're basically rooting for chaos across the country, and a lot of the teams who are ranked near us, if they can lose this week and next week, that would be great. Since we're only covering one game today, and in the next episode we're probably going to go through even more scenarios and whatnot, I figured I would do a stats update for where we are 10 games into the year. And with Clyde Poole, I asked the question of, is he going to be our starting quarterback going into next year? He's been able to keep the job this season, and obviously we're not going to bench him the final couple games of the year. But with Kerry Chosen, Sean Pollard, and DeAndre Rainbolt developing, along with 4-star Carl Willingham, it's certainly worth asking. I think he's regressed a little bit as a passer, but obviously he is the best rushing quarterback in the country, and that's a big part of his game. So it's going to be a tough decision for us, depending on how those young guys progress. A guy I do want to talk about a little bit more in depth is running back Ty Lord, the true freshman, who I was quite high on, but I certainly didn't think he would be this good. The question with him is, much like Clyde Poole, what is the ceiling? He only has normal development. Given his skill caps, I still think there's a lot of room for him to get better. But some of the other running backs in the room have higher upside than him. Nonetheless, he has been our best running back this year. 8 yards per carry is absurd. Granted, many of those have come off of some really long runs. He had 2 in the Baylor game and a couple others scattered throughout the year. But that shouldn't take away how efficient he has been throughout the entire season. I like Cornell Teamer. I like Jazir Tolbert. Reed Sharp is obviously an intriguing freshman, and we've got some good upperclassmen as well. So it'll be interesting to see how they progress throughout the offseason. Amani Law, the standout receiver. I'm excited for his progression this offseason. Law was really good. Through the first 5 games of the year, he was one of the most important players of the offense, and I wanted to try to scheme him the ball more. But since then, he's actually gotten quite a bit worse. Through the first 5 games, he had no less than 60 yards and 3 touchdowns total. But over the last 5 games, he's had no more than 4 catches and 41 yards. I get that we're not a pass-first team, and the passing certainly varies on week to week, but we certainly want a little bit more consistency from him and the other receivers. Maddox and Lamar have given us some good moments, but again, consistency with them. Rajon Jones only has 18 catches. I was certainly hoping he would have more at this point in time. Granted, he has had some big catches. The offensive line's been up and down. I do think the sack numbers are a little bit inflated given Clyde Poole's play style. And then defensively, I want to give this side of the ball some credit because I feel like we have gotten better here as the year has gone along. Certainly not perfect, but as the pass rush has really gotten alive with Takaius Brinkley, I feel like the coverage has gotten better quite a bit. Since we're only doing one game today, we're going to do recruiting first before the game, as we do have a new commitment, and it's a big one. 5-star defensive end, Afa G, a local guy from Blue Valley Southwest High School. What a huge addition for us, just the second 5-star in program history. We were the clear front runner to win the battle. It's not a surprise, but still really exciting for us to add this addition to our defense. I think he's a guy who's got a chance to play very early as a freshman and really make an impact for us and potentially develop into a high-end talent and possibly an NFL player. We do lose out on running back Greg Yu. He is going to Michigan. I figured with his visit against Kansas State not going that well that would be the case. We have a few guys who have narrowed their list down to 3, or when we are in first place for most of them. Josh Metz is going to be the closest battle. Us and Kansas State are pretty much neck and neck. Manu Toilolo we are in 3rd for, but all hope is not lost with him. I still think we've got a very real shot of landing him, as we'll talk about in just a moment. But first, I want to look at Afa G's skill set here real quick. I think he's the best player we have recruited in this series so far, and as I said, he's going to play a lot early on, replacing not only Travion Ford, who's a senior, But I think there's a real shot Tychus Brinkley declares for the NFL draft after this year, so he's going to have to replace Brinkley as well. As for Greg IU, it's unfortunate we're losing him, but we do already have Nicholas Scotland-Williamson, who I do think is a little bit better. Our class now is ranked 6th overall with the addition of the 5-star, and recruiting becomes a little bit more simple in a way because now we're not offering any more visits since we're out of home games, so it's just a matter of using these recruiting hours, and we're going to get a little bit odd with some of the decision making here. I don't really know how much I want to pursue these 3-star players because we've gotten full recruiting classes over the last 2 seasons, and I'm not really sure I want to do it again. Given our small senior class, we're going to have way more than 85 players on the roster going into the year, which means we're going to have to cut a lot of really good prospects. We can't cut true freshmen, though, so I want to make sure the true freshmen we're getting are good players who are worthy of being kept on the roster. So that's why we're going to move a little bit slower with some of those 3-stars. These are the battles that right now look the closest. With Josh Metz, it's neck and neck with us in Kansas State. We put a lot of points into him last week. We built a little bit of a lead, but he is visiting the Wildcats this week, so that could certainly change. Greg Von Oelhofen, I think we're going to wrap that battle up pretty soon. Bo Muse is really close. We had a really good visit with him last week. He's visiting SMU this week, though, so it's neck and neck with us in Illinois. Taylor Cotavitas had a great visit last week. I think this one is a lock. We're going to be able to take some points off of him. And then Manu Toilolo. Look how close this race is. We're in 3rd, but we're putting a little bit more influence than both Oklahoma State and Arizona. So I think we have a real shot of passing both of them and landing him. It wasn't much of a decision on whether I'd keep the points on him or not. I think it's a pretty easy one. Now, as you'll notice, we still have 75 points left over, so I figured I would add some 3-star players on the board, scout them, and see if we can find some under-the-radar gems. So I added a wide receiver in Pierre Wilbon, a linebacker with Shaquille Ivy, a safety with Eric McGooligan. Part of the allure with him is that he has a cool name. And then Cole Merrill, an edge rusher. So we're going to scout these guys. We're going to see if there's potentially a hidden gem with them. We'll start with Pierre Wilbon. He's a guy I've had my eye on since early in the year. We didn't put him on the board then, but he doesn't have any scholarships still, so I figured why not? His skill set is a lot different than the other receivers we have, so I think he'd be a good addition. Shaquille Ivy is a bust, unfortunately. Probably not a guy we're really going to pursue, but I guess I'll keep him on the board. McGooligan is a gem. That's a big one. He looks like a good player. So we're going to take some points off of a guy like Greg Von Oelhofen and potentially try to use those for McGooligan. Cole Merrill is also a gem, but of this group, McGooligan is going to be the priority because he just got a scholarship from Boston College. So if there's a battle we could lose out on early, it would be his. So we're going to take a lot of points off of Taylor Cotavitas. Look how big of a lead we have. We don't need to put all those points into him, and we're going to put 50 into McGooligan. So that is how we're going to use our points this week for Week 12. Let's now dive deeper into the Iowa State Cyclones as we get set for this matchup. Iowa State is 4-6. They have not had a good year, though. They started this season off strong, despite the fact that they lost a lot of key players on the offensive side of the ball, declaring early for the NFL draft. And things looked promising for them earlier in the year. They beat Arkansas, who we thought maybe would be a good team. They certainly have not. They beat Iowa on the road. That's a good win. And then Big 12 play comes in where they have really struggled, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Their defense has been a train wreck. They're playing better on offense, though, and they finally won an in-conference game beating Oklahoma State. Now, if there is one position this team has talent in, it is the quarterback room with both Rocco Becht and J.J. Cole. I'm not really sure why Cole is still here. He probably should have transferred by now, as Rocco Becht is the starter. Their top receiver, Michael Parks, is injured, so they're going to have to replace him. They do have some good skill position players overall, though. They've got a really good cornerback duo and a couple of very solid linebackers, including Giants franchise legend Mason Miller. But this team does really struggle in terms of the trench play. The offensive and defensive lines are quite weak, and that's been the biggest reason that the Cyclones haven't hit their regular standard of being one of the more competitive teams within the conference, again, having just won their first game in Big 12 play a week ago. We know what's up front for us. We need some help across the country, whether that's in the Big 12 or looking for an at-large spot. But again, we can only control the controllables, and that's this week and next week. Iowa State opens up with it. Rocco Becht up the middle. Quick throw and catch, and a solid gain to get things started. I imagine Iowa State's really going to look to get the passing game early, given our inconsistencies in terms of defending the pass, as it's an RPO on 3rd and 1, and Dylan Lee gets the first down. Damani Maxson could not have read the play more perfectly, but he's got to make the tackle. Play action, Becht, looking, end zone, he's got Keller for the touchdown. Iowa State marches down the field in their opening drive of the game, results in a score to the backup tight end, Andrew Keller. Our starting defense shut out Houston through 3 quarters last week, so this is certainly not the encouraging start we could have hoped for. 3rd and 2, Harry Stewart the third with it, and he's got space to the outside. A gain of 33 yards for the sophomore running back. Stewart is towards the bottom of the pecking order in terms of the running back rotation, but he's the fastest of the group, as Ty Lord does not convert a short 3rd down. He might have lost a yard. Jace Gilbert brings him down, and of course we're going to go for it here on 4th and 1. Is it the big fella, Jazir Tolbert, who gets the first down, keeping the chains moving. 2nd and 10, Poole rolls out, has rushing room, scrambles up the middle, has a first down into the red zone, past the 20. So it looks like our offense is matching Iowa State, at least with a good drive, but we've got to finish with a touchdown. 2nd and inches, corner of the end zone. It's our tight end, Isaiah Lamore, with the score. Hey, that rhymed. Kansas ties it at 7. So Iowa State opens up the game with a touchdown drive, and we do the same. So now the Cyclones have it back. Play action. Becht, wide open up the middle. Uncovered is Ben Ngoe. Breaks the tackle from Landers and gets it past the 50. Not good coverage on that play whatsoever. It's a gain of 35. 3rd and 4, final play of the first. Short pass is caught by Feely. Breaks the tackle from Mpemba and gets around 8. Pitiful display of tackling by Samuel Mpemba. He read the play perfectly, but you got to bring him down past the line of scrimmage when you get the chance, especially on 3rd down. Tied at 7-1, both offenses looking the part early. Rocco Becht has been really impressive for Iowa State. He has completed all 7 of his passes so far. We have not sent pressure. We have not covered well. Got to play better defensively here to start the second. First play from scrimmage, play action again. Becht looks to throw it, looks in the flats, and it's picked off! Caleb Purdy, the senior, with nothing but green grass ahead. He's going to take it all the way to the house for a pick 6. 67 yards out, and Kansas takes the lead. A defensive momentum boost for the Jayhawks. They needed that one. They've really struggled on the defensive side of the ball as they get the turnover with Purdy. Takes it for a house call. It's now 14-7. Iowa State looking to respond. Nice first down run by Dylan Lee. He is wrapped up by the true freshman Marcus Ashe. Following play at around the 26. Becht looks to throw it, and it is caught for a first down by Ngoe. That was a hospital ball if I've ever seen one. The safety, Brandon Hines, could have ended the receiver's life if he wanted to. Decided against it, but that probably would have bettered our chances of winning because he would have dropped the ball. Up the middle, wide open. Ben Ngoe again. What a start for him. 4 catches for over 100 yards for the junior. Play action. Becht looking for the side. It's hauled in near the 1. Really nice catch there by Malik Douglas. So now at the goal line, 2nd and goal, Dylan Lee breaking tackles. Man, he's close, but he's not quite in. 3rd and goal now. At maybe the half-yard line, if even. It's going to be a read option. Becht breaks the tackle, and he is in. Rocco Becht with the rushing touchdown. And again, we read the play well, but the tackling near the line of scrimmage has been really bad. 14-14, Kansas back with it. Teamer bounces off a blocker, outruns the second level, and they will not catch him. The first play of the drive will be the only play of the drive. 82 yards for the true freshman, Cornell Teamer. What is happening in this game? Our offense has gotten 1 drive the entire game because keep in mind we had the defensive touchdown. So I was excited to actually get the ball back, and, well, we're not actually going to have the ball back. A 1-play drive. Cornell Teamer starts it and finishes it. The true freshman running back has really come along throughout this season. We are really seeing him get better in front of our very eyes. And then he does that. A house call to make it 21-14. No shortage of points or action in this game as Iowa State has it back. Becht breaks the initial tackle, but he is eventually sacked. Devontae Crispin, the sophomore linebacker, brings him down. The initial hit, I believe, was from Champ Tompkins. 3rd and 18, under pressure, sacked again. Travion Ford, his 10th of the year, and that'll lead to a punt. So the Jayhawks get it back. We finally get our first punt of the game. 3rd and 14, Poole up the middle, wide open. It's Mario Maddox. He gets the first down past the 20. With 3 to go in the half, Tolbert has space to the left side. Boom! Launches himself into the safety and brings it well inside the 5. An impressive gain of 17 for Big Ja. 1st and goal, man in motion. That is Rajon Jones, and he is in for a score. The true freshman with the touchdown, and it will not count. Holding against the offense on the tight end, Isaiah Lamore. So after getting it closer to the end zone, it's now a 3rd and goal. Poole looks to throw it, gets it to Teamer, gets by the defender, and he's in for another touchdown, his 2nd of the game. I'll be honest, as soon as I threw that pass, I instantly regretted it because I figured Cornell Teamer is going to be tackled 3 yards away from the line of scrimmage. And since we're going to be, outside of the hashes, it would be a hard kick for Anthony Escalante, along with the fact that we're 9 yards back at the end zone. It's not like we can go for it, but when in doubt, trust the freshman to make the play. What a job by Cornell Teamer, his 2nd score of the game, and we are not done. Travion Ford, his 2nd sack of the game, 11th on the year. 2nd and 17. Wow, what a play here. 1st down to the 50. Iowa State just needed anything to go their way. It's a gain of 31 for the tight end, Gabe Burkle. Under pressure, that one is caught. Another pathetic display of tackling as it's Deontay Humphrey who gets around 14. Iowa State finally getting some momentum, but they've got to score here. They've got to capitalize as they bring it inside the red zone. That's Malik Douglas who gets 16. 3rd and 10 now. Becht looks to throw it. Clean pocket, and it is caught at around the 1-yard line. That's Douglas again. Now they've got to punch it in. 1st and goal. Becht looks to throw it under pressure, and he is sacked! Devontae Crispin brings him down, and they're going to have to settle for a field goal with just 5 seconds left in the half. What a play by Crispin, who's had one of his best games of the year. Kick is through for Drew Blaney, the redshirt sophomore. That'll wrap up the first half. A lot of action here in Ames, Iowa. 28-17, Kansas leads it. I still feel like our offense hasn't necessarily been spectacular. The first drive was a good one, but keep in mind we had the pick six. We had the long touchdown by Cornell Teamer, an 82-yarder. Defensively, it's certainly been up and down. We really started slow. Rocco Becht really played well, but I feel like we've settled in the game a little bit. The pass rush after a slow start has gotten into it. Travion Ford with 2 sacks, continuing his impressive year. And we get to start with the ball as well. It's a 3rd and 5 up the middle. 1st down for Dorian Pepper. He's able to get some extra yardage, wrapped up by Mason Miller, as Mario Maddox, the standout junior, hurt on the play. 3rd and 6 now. Poole looks to throw it, steps up in the pocket, runs with it, has the 1st down, tries to get by the linebacker and cannot, but he is able to run for a 1st down gain. Following play action for Ty Lord. He's been quiet so far. Amani Law with it, tries to juke by the defenders. He cannot, but he does get the 1st down nearing the 30. 3rd and 6, here's Poole with it. Clean pocket. That one is broken up for Maddox. Good coverage by Cam Smith, and that'll bring out the field goal unit. 48-yarder for Escalante. We've seen him make kicks from distance as of recent, and his kick is good. We got to continue to give Escalante his flowers. He's really improved this year, especially from distance, as we see there. 31-17, 3rd and 3. That one is hauled in for a 1st down. Unable to break the tackle from Brandon Hines, but a nice catch by Gabe Burkle. Halfway through the quarter now, 2nd and 2. Becht taking his time. He will fake the handoff. Looks to throw it up the middle. Plenty of space. And a nice play for Ben Ngoe, who's continued his fantastic afternoon. I think that was Brinkley banged up after the play, as Iowa State now has it in the red zone at around the 15. Becht under pressure. Hit as he throws and he is sacked. A cavalry of defenders. It's Graydon Grimes who leads the way for the Jayhawks in for the sack. It looks like he had some help from Marcus Calvin, as it's now 2nd and 21. Going to run it here with Lee. Has space to the right side. Gets by Landers, and he's in for a touchdown. If I were to get a nickel for every time the opposing offense was behind the sticks and then was able to turn out a big play, if I got a nickel every time that happened, I would be a billionaire. This team has way too many instances where it's 2nd and long, 3rd and long, and we allow big plays. Offense back with it on 3rd down as Ty Lord does not get the first. He's close. Lord took a big hit there as Mario Maddox is also hurt. So both guys are banged up as Iowa State has it back. Breaking tackles, gain of around 6. But let's talk about Mario Maddox here. Torn pec, done for the year. Wow, that is unfortunate. When he initially got injured in the 3rd quarter, I told the game to not put him back in. So I don't know why he was out there. But his season is done. That means we're going to see a lot of Dorian Pepper. We might see guys like Lord and Teamer play a little receiver as well as we get a big 3rd down stop. That's Caleb Purdy, who had the pick 6 earlier in the game. They would pin us back deep, though, and with a couple of penalties, we are really close to the end zone as Teamer loses a couple, and now we have it back at the 1. 2nd and 22, we're going to throw the ball. Nobody's open. Poole's going to step up and run with it, and a big play for Clyde Poole. He gets 16. It was gutsy to throw the ball there, but I trusted Clyde Poole to not do anything stupid there. And sure enough, he turned it into a nice gain. 31-24 as we go into the 4th. It is a 3rd and 6. Poole, under pressure, scrambles around, and after all that, he gets sacked near the end zone anyway. First sack of the game for Iowa State. Jack Sadowski, the 5th, leads the way along with Carson Willich. Cyclones with a chance to tie the game. We'll see if they can, as it's a play-action jet sweep. Fakes the sack, looking for the end zone, and is caught! Touchdown! It was underthrown for his initial target, but the other guy was able to get it. Now, luckily, this one's coming back. A holding call on B.J. Cope. But how did Quantavius Landers not turn around quicker and make a play on that ball? We dodged a bullet there. 3rd and 3 up the middle. Quick catch, quick 1st down. That'll move the chains for Iowa State. Again, they were backed up behind the sticks. It was 1st and 20, and they ended up with a 1st down. Following play, downfield to the 10. It's Ben and Goey again. 7 catches for 140 yards for the redshirt junior from Lincoln, Nebraska. 3rd and 7. Short throw is caught, and that's a touchdown. Malik Douglas takes a pop from Maxon, but he's in for a score. We are tied at 31, and with 5.5 minutes to go, it's our biggest drive of the year to save the season. 2nd and 10. Poole under pressure. Risky throw, and it's caught. That's Cornell Teamer, who we're going to give some snaps to at receiver with the loss of Mario Maddox. Up the middle, Tolbert gets the conversion on 3rd down. You'll notice Ty Lord is not getting a lot of snaps. Seeing Mario Maddox get injured for the rest of the year, I want to be cautious with Lord and not really use him. Teamer is short on 3rd down. It's going to be a holding call against James Livingston, and they're going to decline the penalty. If I'm the defense, I'd way rather a 3rd and 14 than a 4th and 1. We're going to keep the offense and go for it as Jazir Tolbert gets the 1st down with ease. I think Iowa State's really going to regret that. James Livingston threw them a bone, and they did not capitalize. Another 3rd down, now 3rd and 7. Poole under pressure, has space, runs for the 1st down inside the 10. As that brings us to the 2-minute warning, and right now we are firmly in the driver's seat after that conversion. Teamer with it. Nice run up the middle, gets around 10, and he is over the century mark in yardage. 2nd and inches at around the 3. We're going to try to let some clock go if we can, as Poole's going to look to throw it, looking for Teamer, and it's broken up in the end zone. 3rd and inches now. The goal line package is out. Jazir Tolbert gets it, fighting for yards. He is in! Big Jaw for the touchdown. Jazir Tolbert puts the Jayhawks ahead with a little over a minute to go. Tolbert's had some huge runs in this game, none bigger than that one. 38-31. Offense does their job when we needed them the most. But can the defense do it? I'm a little bit less optimistic about this group. On first down, Becht up the middle. That one is caught by Douglas. He gets around 6 or 7. Iowa State has all 3 timeouts, but keep in mind they need a touchdown. Field goal does nothing. Now under a minute. 2nd and 4. Up the middle, broken up by the senior Brian Dilworth. He had an interception on senior night a week ago. 3rd and 4. Becht looks short, caught for a first down. That's the tight end, Burkle, with the reception, and they will use timeout number 1, unsurprisingly. 2 timeouts left at the 37. Here's Becht. Under pressure, hit as he throws by Ford as it's caught again. Burkle with the reception, and he's out of bounds, stopping the clock. This defense really will never make it easy, will they? Becht alone in the backfield, takes a shot by Brinkley. It's a gain of around 7 or 8 as Travion Ford is banged up. And that's going to stop the clock. Iowa State doesn't even have to use a timeout. 2nd and 3. Becht hit as he throws incomplete. Good pressure by the Kansas defense. I think that was Champ Tompkins who's in the game for Ford. 3rd and 3. Becht looking deep, and it's broken up. Great coverage by Purdy. And now this game will come down to a 4th and 3. Defense gets a stop, and we win it. They're going to run the ball, and he does not get it. Dylan Lee is a yard short. Zach Stokes and Marcus Calvin win the game for the Kansas defense here at the end. 38-31 is your final. The Jayhawks survived. This game ended up being quite a bit closer than I had expected or hoped for. But hey, a win is a win. Survive and advance. We improved to 8-3, 6-2 in conference. We still got some work to do next week against TCU. We still need some help across the country, but a big win for us nonetheless. 38-31 in a really fun game. Both offenses with some big plays. We had some huge runs. Iowa State had some huge plays through the air, but we find a way to get the job done with a big drive at the end of the game on offense, and then the defense does what they need to at the end, the stop by Stokes and Calvin to win it. Clyde really did not have his best day. He wasn't all that impressive through the air and kind of quiet on the ground. But the other running backs played well. Cornell Teamer was excellent. Jazir Tolbert had a really good day. Ty Lord was really quiet, though, in large part due to the fact that he got banged up. And after seeing what happened with Mario Maddox, I knew we could not afford to lose Ty Lord. He's one of the most important players on the offense. The offensive line did a solid job, and then defensively, not our best day in coverage, but the pass rush really got after it after the first quarter. And then, again, we made plays when we needed to at the end. But Rocco Becht torched us. He was fantastic in this game, 31-39. Minus the pick 6, he was pretty much unstoppable. But their defense just could not keep up. We made plays when we needed to offensively. And I feel like that was ultimately the difference in this game. The biggest reason why we ended up getting the win. So with that, we are now 8-3 with 1 game left to go in the regular season. As we will simulate the week, we've got some fun storylines to watch out for with just 2 weeks to go in the regular season. We're certainly hoping those teams at the top of the Big 12 end up, well, losing. Along with some chaos. The more chaos, the better, because that means there's more teams for us to jump in the rankings and gives us a better chance of an at-large spot, assuming we don't make the conference championship. Caleb Purdy, with his pick 6, ends up winning the Big 12 Defensive Player of the Week. As we start in Arizona State, the Sun Devils unbeaten in conference play. BYU, if you guys could do us this one favor, we would greatly appreciate it. Believe it or not, they actually did, beating Arizona State in an upset. And this Sun Devils team confuses me a little bit. I have a hard time trusting teams who really rely on turnovers. Arizona State's defense does a better job of forcing turnovers than anybody in the country. But sometimes, when you're not forcing turnovers, the rest of the team kind of lags behind. And that's sort of what happened in this game. Noah Lugo with a good game through the air. We had 4 interceptions against him, remember, but he doesn't do that at all against the Sun Devils. A big reason why BYU ends up getting the upset. Thank you, Cougars. We appreciate it. Number 1 Florida, the only undefeated team left, faces off against Auburn, and for most of this game, it was all Gators. They led 28-10, but Auburn would storm back. Only down by 7 here. Perry Thompson, the projected first-round receiver, would score a touchdown. Flag on the play, but it would be defensive pass interference. Mind you, there's like maybe 15 seconds left in regulation here. Extra point ties it, but Auburn, who has not won a single game in conference this year, says screw it. What do we have to lose? They're going to go for 2. Nobody's open, so Hank Brown scrambles around, and Florida does not make a play on him quick enough. Auburn outscores the Gators 19-0 in the fourth quarter to win it, 29-28. Florida loses their first game of the year, and there are no more unbeatens left in college football. What a win here for the Tigers. As for Florida, hard to fault DJ Lagway. He was absolutely fantastic. But the Gators dropped their first of the year, and they go all the way to 10. That feels like a steep drop. Another big Big 12 game. Utah, if you could do us a favor, that would be greatly appreciated. Unfortunately, they did not have the same idea as BYU. UCF blew the Utes out of the water, and now the Knights find themselves at 10-1 with one game to go against Texas Tech, who is not very good. 31-3 is your final. Ja'Curry Brown does his thing. What a fall off for Utah. They were right in the mix at the top of the conference as well at one point in the year, and now they have forgotten how to play football pretty much. Isaac Wilson has really struggled over the last couple of weeks, looking like his brother. Kansas State and Houston's up next. Houston, if you can deliver us a favor, we would again really appreciate it. Now, unlike the UCF game, this one was actually really close. Houston stayed in it until the end, but unfortunately, we would not get the upset. This superhuman-esque run by Blake Barnett would help Kansas State ultimately get the win, 31-28. How did we lose to this Kansas State team, the same team, who barely beat Houston? Doesn't really make much sense. Caleb McMickle with a little bit of everything in this one. As for the Wildcats, Blake Barnett with 3 scores, really solid game from him. Now Kansas State moves up to 10-1. Georgia faces off against Oklahoma. Huge game in terms of playoff implications. Both teams sort of on the bubble. I guess Oklahoma winning would be helpful since they're ranked a little bit lower, and sure enough, they would. Again, the more chaos, the better. This touchdown by Zion Kearney would help push them over the edge, 22-20. Tommy Newman was pretty solid, though, as was Jackson Arnold. I kind of want to see Oklahoma in the playoffs. I want to see Jackson Arnold in a big game because he's had a good year, but NFL scouts are still unsure whether or not they should really trust him. And then Alabama heads to Mississippi State. Through the Bulldogs' first 10 games this year, they have let up no more than 13 points in a single game all year. Well, that would change as Alabama's offense exposed them, taking care of business, scoring 37 in this one. The Crimson Tide are now doing what they do every year. Start the season off slow, win a big game at some point of the year, play well at the end of the regular season, and then lose a game at the end, preferably the SEC championship. That's what the script has had 2 years in a row, and I see no reason to why that will not happen again. Mississippi State's playoff chances are now all but about cooked. They had to win that game, and unfortunately for them, they do not. So Oregon is now the newly ranked number 1 team. Michigan finally with an impressive win. Now Minnesota's 2-9, but Michigan's played a lot of close games. So to see them blow out an opponent is a pretty good look for them. Boston College playoff chances are cooked. They lose to Georgia Tech. Boise State is now ranked. They beat Oregon State. USC wins 17-9. Very unlike USC, but a win is a win. They'll take it. Stanford and Clemson both with wins. Stanford, by the way, 10-1. Miami takes care of business. Tulsa blows out Arkansas. Tennessee over South Carolina. Notre Dame is now number 4. Charlotte with a win. And Maryland, ranked number 3. They blow out Michigan State. In conference play, West Virginia continues to falter. They lose to Texas Tech. Colorado over Cincinnati. Baylor over Arizona. And TCU, who we'll get to see next week, beats Oklahoma State. Washington's playoff chances are now down the toilet. They lose to Wisconsin. Ole Miss barely beats Georgia State. Rutgers over Penn State. They finished their year 8-4. Temple beats UAB. I think the Blazers' playoff chances are now just about wrapped up, which is unfortunate. I wanted to see them get in. They are a really fun team. Texas over Missouri. They finished their regular season 7-5. Certainly a disappointment considering the national championship aspirations they had earlier in the year. And then Purdue finally wins. Granted, they beat Northwestern, who's like 1-10. So we move up 2 spots in the rankings to number 12. Oklahoma jumps us. Again, I figured that would be the case. They did just beat Georgia. But we are getting closer and closer to one of those playoff spots. Now, just because we're ranked in the top 12 doesn't mean we have one of those playoff spots locked in, because there are multiple conference champions who are currently ahead of us. So we're still one of the first teams out, but we made a little bit more ground today, and if we beat TCU next week, then we'll do all we could have to position ourselves for a late playoff push. We still have a chance to make the conference championship as well. We cannot pass Kansas State, but if we win, UCF loses, and Arizona State loses, the door is still open, and we would potentially pass them. Those are your players of the week, including Caleb Purdy, of course. No major movement on the Heisman list. DJ Lagway still in first, as that will bring us to our bowl projection, where we are still projected in the Pop-Tarts Bowl, now against Boston College. Quite the downgrade from a potential playoff game. So that'll wrap up the episode. I hope you guys enjoyed. Next time around, we've got TCU, our final game of the regular season, and some big games across the country as everybody looks to position themselves for a playoff spot. We'll go through a lot of the conference scenarios in the next episode as well. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you are new. Peace out. Rock Chalk.